Hokage Unlimited enhancement every 60 days. Chapter 261 to 280. 261. Owen admits defeat. After a while, all the currents plunged back to the surface. What's the matter? What happened? Lord Smoothie. Lord Owen, are you all right? The subordinates who were ordered by Smoothie to be scattered all over the island in search of the fruit of the shock, noticed the huge movement from the seaside, and some people came out of the jungle, and some people came down from the mountain, and they all turned towards Smoothie. Gather. Watching Longcheng come ashore from the sea, with an imperceptible smile on his lips, walking towards them slowly, Smoothie shrank back to his normal size in a complicated mood, and a look of fear flashed in his eyes. Those subordinates of Smoothie gathered on both sides of Smoothie, showing a look of alertness. They all saw the person in front of them riding the ocean current just now, and those. The turbulent ocean current was as high as 100 meters. Looking at Longcheng at this time, Owen's expression became much more solemn. Having seen the strength of Longcheng, Owen no longer thinks that Longcheng is an arrogant young boy. Guangyu Dragon City, strange push city, Malin Fando can't keep you. Owen said solemnly, looking at Longcheng with a look of fear on his face. Longcheng chuckled, noncommittal, and said, do you want to continue fighting? At this time, Lola, Duke Inuarashi and others also came to Longcheng and others from the cliff on the shore of the island. Don't fight anymore. Laura frowned, looked worriedly at Longcheng and Owen and shook her head. The two long pink braids swung as Laura shook her head. Looking at the faint smile at the corner of Longcheng's mouth, his face was flat and relaxed, and Smooch's face was hard to look at. Then don't fight. Few seconds of silence, Smoothie spoke up. Even if she was unwilling in her heart, even if she could still sneak attack again now, she still chose to compromise and give up. There will be other killers in Guangyu Dragon City, which can bring waves of this scale. The most important task now is to find the fruit of the shock. Smoothie thought about it and endured it. When they find the Junjun fruit and the Rand, they will have a chance to meet Guangyu Longcheng in the future, and then solve this trouble. Humph. Duke Inuarashi looked at Smoothie and Wen with contempt. Don't look at what your sneak attack looks like. Cat Viper shopkeeper said angrily. Shopkeeper of Cat Viper is still angry about the incident that Longcheng was attacked by Smoothie just now. Longcheng narrowed his eyes and smiled without saying a word. Owen and Smoothie knew that they were wrong, and endured the sarcasm of Duke Inuarashi and the shopkeeper of Cat Viper, and could not argue. And having seen the strength of Longcheng, Owen and Smooch can no longer just regard each other as a young man who is only relatively strong, but he really regards Longcheng as the opponent of the Big Mom pirates. There's no need to fight anymore. Guangyu Longcheng, I admit that I am not your opponent. Owen became because he entered a fighting state. His naked upper body, which was red with high temperature, is now slowly cooling down, revealing his original skin color, and the water droplets on his body slowly evaporated, and a trace of white gas appeared. Since you know what you have in mind, let's stop here this time. Lola, goodbye by fate. Let's go. Without looking at Owen and Smoothie, Longcheng smiled and said goodbye to Lola. Boss Longcheng, shall we just leave like this? Monet frowned and asked Longcheng. Now is the best chance to control the two generals of the Big Mom pirates. If they leave like this and let them go, then they will look for the fruit of the shock, and they will definitely meet in the end, and it will be troublesome at that time. Let's go, or let's go. Longcheng didn't say anything more, and walked straight towards the jungle behind Smoji and others. Those subordinates of Smoothie wisely gave up their positions and let Dragon City pass. Through the jungle, out is the other side of the island, where their boat is moored. Of Smoothie, Owen and others have been smashed by his current over their shoulders. If they want to leave the island, they can only wait for other pirates to come to the door and grab it. As the core cadres of the Big Mom pirates, Smoothie and Owen, apart from the four emperors, pirates, most of the other pirates who come here and meet them can only hand over the pirate ship obediently. But if this matter spreads out, the pirate ship of the dignified ant pirates is destroyed, and the court cadres are trapped on the island. I am afraid it will become a joke around the world. And it is not certain when other pirate ships will come here, and they will be much slower to find the fruit of the shock. Thinking of this, the corners of Longcheng's mouth twitched slightly. Yes, Your Highness. Let's go. Duke Inuarashi and the shopkeeper Cat Viper did not hesitate at all, and followed Longcheng. Caesar and Monet quickly followed. Jia Jia. Caribou glanced at Smoggy and the others, laughed Yin and Yang, and followed suit. Passing through the group of pirates and walking behind Smoothie and Owen, Longcheng suddenly remembered something, stopped, turned his head and squinted his eyes and said, "Oh, I forgot to say, this island does not need look, there is no shaking fruit." Philo reminds you. 3 things to read. 262. Kid Pirates. 3 days later, a pirate ship appeared in the northern part of the sea area marked by the Navy for the presence of the quake fruit. "Boss Kid, come and see, there is a naval warship there." A naked upper body covered with blue-purple thorns, full of white long hair, and a mouth sewn with threads, a weird looking like a zombie, standing on the deck, holding a telescope and shouting at a red-haired spiky-haired man behind rowed. "Oh." With red hair and spiky head known as Kid walked towards the edge of the deck with a light whistle. Wearing a dark red coat, with a dagger and a pistol on his chest, a pair of goggles on his forehead, the most obvious feature is a red hedgehog hairstyle. This person is the Supernova 11 from the South China Sea. One of them is Eustace Skid, the captain of the Kid Pirates. "Let me see." In the hands of the white-haired weirdo and put them over his eyes. Things in the distance suddenly magnified, and on the blue waters, a medium-sized naval warship was slowly approaching their ship. It seemed that they had discovered them and wanted to arrest them. "It's interesting, just when I got here, there are small shrimps and small fishes delivered to the door by themselves." Kid grinned and looked at the naval warship that came to die with interest. They learned of the whereabouts of the quake fruit announced by the Navy, and they just entered this sea area from the Great Route to the Windless Zone. "Hit, get everyone ready to fire." Kid took off the telescope and ordered. "Boss Kid, isn't it too strange that the Navy shows up so early? Shouldn't they appear last?" The zombie-faced man named Hit said suspiciously. "Don't worry about it, just fuck them and it's over." Was a cruel smile on Kid's face, and he couldn't wait to think that the warship would slaughter those naval officers and soldiers. "Yes, Boss Kid, there is a warship ahead, everyone." Seeing that Kid's boss was planning to kill, Hit was also excited and shouted to the crew. Except white-haired Hit, the remaining 4 crew members on the ship quickly gathered. They were a tall man wearing a demon-like costume and holding a gun, a tall man with the logo of the pirates on his stomach. A man wearing a blue and white striped mask with several small holes on his head, with long blonde hair, severe burn marks on his arms, and a relatively strong physique. One fat and one thin, both holding a 3-legged fork in their hands. "Killing the Navy is my favorite thing to do." Holding a 3-pronged gun, the tall man said with a dull expression. "Kid, I feel a little weird." Wearing a blue and white striped mask, Kira said in a calm tone. Looking at the warship in the distance, he found that there were no soldiers on the warship. Of all the crew members, only Kira can call Kid by his first name. "Oh, what did you find?" Kid turned his head and asked. "There don't seem to be any soldiers on that warship, maybe something odd, Kid." "Really, I'll take a look." Kid brought the telescope closer to his eyes again. The warship has always been slowly approaching them. Although it is not very clear from a distance, there is really no one on it, and the other party seems to have no intention to fire at them. This is the most strange thing. Kid frowned slightly and let out a light hum. As the warship got closer, the situation on the ship gradually became clear. There was not a single Navy soldier on the ship, but several figures appeared on the deck. One of them looked like a cat, one looked like a dog, and the other made Kid feel a little familiar. Kid recalled it in his mind, as if he had seen this person somewhere. Light Moon Dragon City. He recognized it. The young man on the warship that made him a little familiar was. The Navy offered a reward of 1 billion yuan, and it was considered to be the Guangyu Dragon City, which was second only to the four emperors in strength and influence. The Battle of Marin Fando, the transaction of the 7 Martial Seas. Everything has caused a sensation in the world and attracted much attention, and what Guangyu Longcheng has done. Arrogant things are what the pirates want to do and dare not do. At that time, when Guangyu Longcheng blatantly killed Charles Rose Saint in front of Admiral Akainu and everyone's eyes on Fishman Island, Kid happened to be at the scene, and witnessed the scene. It is because of Guangyu Dragon City was hijacked on Fishman Island, and the killing of Tianlong people attracted Admiral Akainu of the Navy headquarters, forcing them. The pirates who came to Fishman Island had to escape from Fishman Island to avoid being affected by Admiral Akainu. Note that it was all over by the way. At that time, Kid already had a certain reputation on the Great Route and was rated as one of the 11 pirate supernovas, but no one in the world dared to provoke the Tianlong people, and even rob the Tianlong people, and Kid also dare not. As soon as the Tianlongren incident happened, Guangyu Longcheng broke into the world's sight, and was regarded as the most daring newcomer pirate in the pirate world, and a rising star in the pirate world. At that time, Kid regarded Guangyu Longcheng as a competitor. 263. Guangyu Dragon City, come and play with me. It's just that every once in a while, more and more news about Guangyu Longcheng spreads in the world of pirates. That Guangyu Longcheng has done have caused a sensation in the world, caused the Navy to have a headache, and made the pirates cheer. Ever since he left Fishman Island, Kid has always wanted to fight with Guangyu Longcheng to prove his strength. I didn't expect to meet him here. Corners of Kid's mouth were raised, and now he felt itchy and wanted to fight with Longcheng. Boss Kid, you said it was Guangyu Dragon City. Hit showed a look of surprise, and now Guangyu Longcheng is in the limelight. How could Guangyu Longcheng be on a naval warship? A man named Wei in a demon costume asked with a little doubt. Kid, the other party is not easy, should we avoid it first? Kira under the mask frowned. He thought that it was not wise to have a conflict with this unpredictable Guangyu Dragon City before he found the fruit of shock. Most urgent task is to buy time to find the fruit of the shock as soon as possible. With the Junjun fruit, the strongest superhuman devil fruit left by Whitebeard, whether it is used to enhance the combat power of the pirate group or traded through underground channels, it is a huge benefit. Avoiding me, Kid wouldn't do such a shameful thing. Seeing that the warship was heading straight towards them, with no intention of detouring, Kid was already faintly angry. Longcheng also found the ship with the pirate flag in front. His Royal Highness, there is a pirate group ahead, what should we do? Duke Inuarashi took off his binoculars and pointed at the black spot about 2 kilometers ahead. Big dog, can't see clearly what pirate group that is. Asked the shopkeeper of the Cat Pit Viper. Oh, look no further, Eustace Skid, one of the 11 supernovas. No need for Duke Inuarashi to look at it with binoculars, Longcheng has the answer. I seem to have heard the name, Kid. Duke Inuarashi said thoughtfully. Now the two of them are no longer surprised by His Highness's far-sighted vision. In the past 3 days, His Highness Longcheng has pointed out to them the locations of the 2 islands that passed by on the route with his astonishing arrogance and arrogance. There are no quake fruits on these 2 islands, and no other pirate ships have been seen. Supernova 11. Straw Hat Luffy seems to belong to this group too. The shopkeeper of Cat Viper said lightly, not worried at all that Kid would pose a threat to them. After all, Luffy, who is also a Supernova 11, and the combat power of the entire pirate group are not the opponents of His Royal Highness Longcheng. Luffy and Zoro are among the 11 supernovas, just drive over and don't care about them. Longcheng nodded and ordered. Although he wanted to find the Junjun fruit first to increase his bargaining power against Kaido, all the pirates who came here were in competition with him, but he didn't need to see one pirate destroy one. If the other party doesn't have long eyes to find fault, then it's another matter. Yes, Your Highness. The 2 ships got closer and closer, and after a few minutes, the people on board could already see each other's faces. The crew of the kid pirates all focused on the young man standing on the opposite deck, and looked at Longcheng without hesitation, as well as the cat and dog next to him. On the warship of Longcheng, Duke Inuarashi, shopkeeper Cat Viper, and Caesar Monet all looked at Kid and his group from a distance expressionlessly. Caribou showed a gloomy smile, stared straight at Kid, his eyes were rolling, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Blocka was standing behind Longcheng, waiting for their group to come back on the second island they went to. Hearing that Longcheng had defeated the cadres Smoji and Owen sent by the Big Mom pirates, he became even more excited. The idea of holding Longcheng's thigh was firmed up. Blocka is best at collecting information on all kinds of people on the Great Route, and naturally knows that Kid is also a very headache for the Navy. So-called dog fights with people, Blocka is now like this, squinting arrogantly at the people on the opposite boat. Longcheng just stood on the deck, glanced at Kid and others, and then looked back at the sea, thinking about how to take the lead among the many pirate groups next. Smoothie and Owen of the pirates have been dragged by him, as well as the Beast's pirates, Blackbeard Tiki, Red-Haired Shanks, the old part of Whitebeard, and many others like Kid who came to try their luck pirates. Any powerful pirate group, even if they knew that this was a Navy's trap, would not give up to grab this great opportunity. If the four emperors, including the Whitebeard pirates and the Red Hair, get the fruit first, it will be difficult for Longcheng to grab it. Thinking of this, Longcheng couldn't help frowning. He must speed up, make good use of his absolute domain, and get the Junjun fruit. Just behind Longcheng, everyone thought that they and the kid pirates would have nothing to do with each other. When the two ships passed by, a red figure suddenly jumped from the pirate ship and swooped down. Guangyu Longcheng, come and play with me. Phailu reminds you, 3 things to read. 264. Kids Challenge. With the sound of a gust of wind, Longcheng's hair fluttered slightly, and Kid's figure came to Longcheng in an instant. What caught Longcheng's eyes was Kid's hideous smile, and his bright red hair like a hedgehog. It seemed that he had no intention of giving Longcheng a chance to refuse. Kid maintained a swooping figure in midair, clenched his right hand tightly and slammed a punch towards Longcheng. Shave. Facing Kid's fist approaching his face with a fierce fist style, Longcheng didn't change his face, but just glanced at it slightly, then pouted his lips, and his figure disappeared instantly. When he appeared again, Longcheng had already reached a few meters away and looked at Kid coldly. Ordinary shaving is at 0. Step on the ground dozens of times within 3 seconds, and the feet in the ground produce explosive reaction force, so as to achieve high-speed movement and disappear instantly. However, Longcheng's shaving has been wirelessly enhanced by the system, and the display time is far less than 0. 3 seconds to achieve true teleportation. And unlike ordinary shaving, which can only move within a range of tens of meters, Longcheng's shaving can instantly move to any point within a radius of 1 mile. Kid missed his fist, but his fist continued to smash straight to the position where Longcheng had just stood on the bow deck. Boom! With a loud noise, the iron plate where Kid dropped his fist instantly smashed a big hole, and the bow of the ship suddenly sank several meters. The entire warship hull tilted down along the bow, and waves stirred up on the sea. Skid, what do you want? Duke Inuarashi shouted, and then stood firmly on the deck, frowning tightly, staring at Kid badly. How can you be so rude? Shopkeeper of the Cat and Pit Viper was full of anger, and was very angry at this uninvited guest. Guangyu Dragon City, fight with me. Kid landed on the deck and didn't even look at Duke Inuarashi and Cat Viper, the cat and dog. He just stared at Longcheng with provocative eyes and shouted recklessly. Not interested. Longcheng glanced coldly at the tall man and said lightly. What do you mean, Kid? Look down on me, Kid. Seeing Longcheng's disdainful eyes, Kid felt like he was being despised, and suddenly became annoyed. You broke my boat, and you have to pay for it. But I have to hurry now and don't want to waste time. If you go back to your ship now, I won't bother with you. Longcheng ignored Kid's tone, did not answer Kid's question, but said in a calm tone. Damn. his teeth when he heard that Longcheng didn't take him seriously at all. Jia, kid, don't really think that you are one of the 11 supernovas. You can come to challenge Our Highness Dragon City. I advise you to go back. Caribou had long sleeves hanging from his hands, reached out and gently covered his mouth, let out a gloomy laugh, and reminded with a kind look. Longcheng sneered in his heart. He had to hurry, and he had no intention to fight with Kid, but this caribou was full of bad water. Where is this a kind reminder? It is clearly deliberately provoking Kid's anger, forcing himself to fight. Who opened the Absolute Realm, can clearly see the psychology and activities of caribou and others. Go back. Don't waste my time looking for Gen fruit. Longcheng looked at Kid, frowned, and gave Kid another chance. Being blocked here and wasting time, Longcheng gradually lost his patience. What Caribou said worked, and being looked down upon over and over again, Kid turned into anger, and suddenly rushed to Longcheng several meters away, cursing, his grandma. How dare you look down on me? Today I am basically going to beat you to the ground. On the opposite ship that was facing the Dragon City and his gang, the crew under Kid saw that Kid started to move, and they all took out their pistols and knives, and put on a big drive. Oh, Kid, you are always so impulsive. Kira sighed and took the lead in jumping towards Duke Inuarashi. He did not approve of Kid taking the initiative to provoke Guangyu Longcheng, but Kid, the captain, had already made his move, and he had no choice but to come over and fight side by side. Guangyu Longcheng was Kid's opponent alone, so he set his target on the two cats and dogs that were not as simple as they seemed on the surface. Two crescent-shaped scythes, one left and one right, are fixed to Kira's left and right, on both arms. Kira waved two scythes and rushed straight towards Duke Inuarashi and the shopkeeper of Cat Viper. Hee, I haven't tasted blood for a long time. White hair and a face like a zombie, licked the corners of his mouth, followed closely behind Kira and rushed towards Caribou. Afterwards, Weir and the other two coxcomb heads followed behind and jumped towards Caesar Monet. Duke Inuarashi, Cat Viper, Caesar Monet, and the others immediately took a posture of fighting when they saw this scene. Seeing this scene, a cold light flashed in Longcheng's eyes. Give you a chance, you don't want it. 265. You will die. Of a few meters will be reached in an instant. I will kill you now. Kid showed a cruel smile, held the handle of the dagger hanging on his chest with his left hand, swooped in front of Longcheng, and took out the dagger and slashed towards Longcheng's neck. Longcheng's face was expressionless. At such a speed, he couldn't even touch the corner of his clothes. Shave. His lips were lightly opened, and the figure of Longcheng disappeared out of thin air again. I don't know where you got the confidence. You feel qualified to fight with me. Suddenly, Longcheng's voice sounded behind Kid. So fast. Kid turned his head away, startled. I saw Longcheng's expressionless face. His hands were clasped like hooks, claw-shaped, and all 10 fingers were aimed at himself. Then Kid reacted immediately and quickly jumped to the side. Choo. Longcheng's 10-fingered hooks fired thousands of air bombs, which instantly hit the deck behind Kid like a hail of bullets, and instantly shot out an ant hive. Kid avoided the finger gun, but seeing that Longcheng didn't seem to have any intention of stopping, Kid quickly put his right hand on his chest. Mechanical shield. With a loud shout, the visible metal parts scattered on the entire warship suddenly roared and flew to Kid's hand, forming a heavy mechanical shield as tall as one person. Z. A trace of purple electric sparks tangled around Kid's arm, making the sound of static friction. Longcheng was also slightly surprised by Kid's quick response. Of speed, Luffy, who is also the leader of the Supernova 11, can't reach Kid's height. HMPH, does it work? Seeing Kid quickly forming a huge metal shield, Longcheng snorted coldly, his hands hooked into claws again, and pointed at Kid. Pistol showers. Original book, Kid's mechanical arm shield is strong enough to withstand the pacifist's laser. But it can't stop Longcheng's system-enhanced pointing gun with absolute penetrating ability. This time, the pointing gun displayed by Longcheng is even more domineering with armed color. The pointing gun is nothing against my shield. Works. Kid's mouth curled slightly, revealing a confident and treacherous smile. Just the next moment, Kid burst into laughter. What is this? Kid looked suspiciously dark, startled. The other party didn't know what method was used. This time, the air bomb was not transparent, but a black bullet with a metallic luster, just like a live bullet. Humph. Longcheng sneered. Shoo 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 shoo. It is a bullet with thousands of dense ma-ma, issued a sound with the air high-speed friction, whizzle and heading toward Kid's shield. Da da da. Bullets slammed on the shield densely, followed by a dull sound. Unsurprisingly, Longcheng's finger gun went straight through Kid's mechanical shield and shot him on Kid's body. PFF'd. Kid's eyes were splitting, and the shield wrapped around his arm was directly blown up by Longcheng's finger gun. He couldn't withstand such a fierce firepower, and the metal parts were shattered and scattered everywhere. Due to the great pain, Kid spit out a mouthful of blood and flew backwards. Kid. Kira was fighting with Duke Inuarashi, and the shopkeeper of Cat Viper caught Kid out of the corner of his eyes, and hurriedly shouted. Hey boy, don't be distracted, your opponent is the old man. Duke Inuarashi shouted, and stabbed Kira's abdomen with a tricky angle. And the shopkeeper Cat Viper was not idle either, cooperating with Duke Inuarashi to block Kira's gap. For a time, Kira was at a disadvantage due to distraction. Kid slowly got up, reached out and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and looked at Longcheng with a gloomy face. More blood holes in Kid's chest, and blood slowly flowed out of the blood holes, which was the wound caused by Longcheng's finger gun. As expected of the optical dragon city that can escape from the Admiral's hands over and over again, its strength is truly terrifying. Kid showed a hideous smile, as if he didn't feel pain, and didn't care about the wound on his chest. Fight more and you'll die. Longcheng just stood there, looking at Kid indifferently. As if he hadn't heard Longcheng's warning, Kid's eyes lit up with fighting intent. The metal parts scattered on the ground by Longcheng trembled slightly on the ground, and then were sucked up by a strong force, and flew towards Kid with a roar. Robot arm. Kid shouted, and those metal parts gathered on Kid's arm again. Woo, woo. This time, the iron parts on the hull that were fixed on the hull also made a tremor, and there were faint signs of falling off and being attracted by Kid. Jung. The deck, the iron fixtures on the warship, could not withstand this huge suction force, and was pulled out abruptly, swept towards Kid, and was absorbed on Kid's arm. Da, da. One piece after another of metal parts was firmly absorbed on Kid's mechanical arm, constantly thickening and lengthening. And, a giant robotic arm with a length of more than 10 meters and the thickness of a bucket appeared in Kid's hand. Longcheng just shook his head. I said it all, you will die. Phailu reminds you. 3 things to read. 266. Leave an arm. You don't look down on people. Even people and boats will be knocked over by lousy. Kid's eyes were red, he roared, and suddenly jumped into the air, and then his body froze, waving a 10-meter-long mechanical arm and roaring towards Longcheng. The speed was so fast, it brought a gust of wind. Strength. If it falls on the ship at the foot of Longcheng, it will be enough to smash the warship into pieces. Looking for death. Longcheng's face sank all of a sudden. He didn't want to waste time here. He simply took out the strongest punch. Kid has been given a chance to live. Since he wants to die so much, just die. 100,000 pieces Hua Zhengchen. Black Dragon. With a loud shout, Longcheng directly greeted the giant mechanical arm with a punch. I saw Longcheng's fist, wrapped in a jet black armed color domineering. A seemingly unremarkable punch, but once made a naval hero, Iron Fist. Kapu's fists, capable of splitting the Red Earth continent, burst into blood. A very impactful picture, a huge arm more than 10 meters long, and the tiny fist of Longcheng quickly approached and collided suddenly. Bang! The next moment, a dull bang sounded, and the 2 fists slammed together. Buzz! First, there was a violent sound of space vibration, and the metal on the giant mechanical arm made a screeching humming noise. Clap! A 1,000-point force was exerted on the deck centered on the Dragon City, and the whole ship seemed to be almost unable to withstand this terrifying force. As if being slapped down fiercely, the entire warship suddenly sank nearly 10 meters. After a brief stagnation, with the warship as the center on the sea surface, a deep pit hundreds of meters wide was suddenly smashed by this force. With this 100-meter pit as the center, a huge impact force instantly spread to the surroundings, a huge wave was set off, and Kid's pirate group was pushed hundreds of meters away by this turbulent wave. The warship at the foot of Longcheng, even though it has undergone the special craftsmanship of the Navy, has a different degree of sturdiness, and finally could not withstand this terrifying impact, and a crack appeared. Boom! After a short pause, the crack spread instantly, splitting the entire warship in half and plunging into the sea. How is it possible? That was 100,000 times more terrifying was passed from the dark fist of Longcheng to Kid's arm layer by layer. Kid was still in midair and his pupils shrank suddenly, and the giant mechanical arm began to shatter layer by layer from the fist. The next moment, Kid's entire robotic arm exploded directly. Kid. Boss Kid. Standing on the half-hulled warship, Kira and Hit were horrified when they saw Kid's appearance. At Kid's arm, a bloody gap was exposed, and the bones were thick. His arm exploded along with the giant mechanical arm. The power of Longcheng's punch has not disappeared. After bursting Kid's arm, Kid was thrown thousands of meters away. How is it possible? Being knocked into the air, Kid's eyes were slack, and he muttered. How can his own strength be so different from Guangyu Longcheng? Longcheng is standing on the only half of the hull left, and the hull is slowly sinking. If he doesn't save him, he will drown. Looking at the remaining 5 crew members of the Kid pirates, they said coldly. Then Longcheng gestured to the shopkeeper Cat Viper, Duke Inuarashi, Caesar Monet and Caribou, and all 5 of them understood what he meant. Put away the weapons in their hands and put the members of the Kid pirates away. Let go. Let's go. Kid broke my boat, your boat is mine. Longcheng ignored them, and directly used the moon step to fly towards Kid's pirate ship. Kira took a deep look at the departing figure of Longcheng, then jumped down without saying a word, plunged into the water, and swam hard in the direction where Kid was hit. The remaining 4 members also glanced at Longcheng with horror on their faces and jumped into the sea. After a while, Kid's ship was driven by Longcheng to the wreck of the slowly sinking warship. Come up. Longcheng stood on the bow and said to Duke Inuarashi and others below. Excuse me, Your Highness. Everyone jumped onto the deck one by one and came to Longcheng. Your Highness, they. The shopkeeper of Cat Viper looked at the members of Kid's subordinates and swam into the distance, but stopped talking. Boss of Longcheng, why don't you just kill Kid and kill all those people? Why let them go? Caribou asked with a puzzled look. He could have killed them all just now, but now he let them go. Leave them alone, and continue heading north. Longcheng glanced at Caribou, did not explain his doubts, but gave a light command. Yes, Your Highness. Caesar, go to the helm. Duke Inuarashi and the shopkeeper of Cat Viper, after hearing Longcheng's order, they did not ask any further questions, and sent Caesar to continue to work as a coolie. Longcheng looked into the distance, his eyes flickering. The punch just now could directly kill Kid, but at the last moment, Longcheng withdrew his strength a little and only abolished one of Kid's arms. 267. The Blackbeard pirates arrive. In the supernova are no longer opponents to the current Longcheng. Longcheng felt a little angry for Kid's provocative behavior wasting his time. But Longcheng is not a murderous murderer. There is no need to kill Kid and his gang. In the end, he just smashed Kid's arm to punish him, and Longcheng was already very tolerant. As the price of Kid's destruction of Dragon City's ship, Dragon City drove Kid's members into the sea and drove their ship away. As for where they will go in the sea, how to deal with the Sea Kings on the seabed with no wind, and Kid leaving this vast ocean as a devil fruit ability, Longcheng will not care. The original novel, Eustace Skid broke off an arm because he went to challenge the red-haired Shanks foolishly with the goal of challenging the 4 emperors. Kid and Luffy are very similar, both have strong strength, and they are full of fighting spirit to become one piece. But Kid doesn't have Luffy's kind of arrogance. He often gets angry over trivial things. He has a more brutal personality and has a very hot temper. Aunt Shaw, who lives with Hades Rayleigh, has seen Kid and also called him, very good, unlovable child. Thinking of this, Longcheng couldn't help but smile. Kid's arm wasn't cut off by the red hair, it was cut off by himself. On the 4th day after Longcheng left the second island they arrived, a pirate ship docked on this island. After a while, all the original crew members of the pirate ship stood on the shore, tremblingly watching the tall and terrifying woman take the lead on board the ship. Then, a man with a flaming head covered in scars and a strong woman followed behind the tall woman and boarded the ship with a group of pirates. During the whole process, the original owner of the pirate ship stood on the shore with the crew, watching his own ship lift the anchor and slowly left the shore, not daring to say a word. "Master, let's send the boat out like this." Deputy stood beside the head of the house and muttered softly. "Shut up." Hearing the deputy's words, the head of the household immediately frowned and scolded. But what? That's the dessert of the pirates, Trinity Charlotte Smoky and Brown Minister Owen couldn't help showing a look of fear, and even though Charlotte Smudge had already boarded the ship and left, he was not allowed to let anyone continue, for fear that the other party would turn back. Although he is not strong, he has a wide range of knowledge and friends, and when he hears the news of Junjun fruit, he will try his luck with the attitude of joining in the fun. I didn't expect to encounter the Big Mom pirates not long after entering this sea area. When I came to this island, I recognized Smoothie and Owen as soon as they landed. When Smoothie asked for a boat, the owner didn't care. Hesitantly called everyone out to get off the boat, without any thought of resistance. The other two put up a bounty of nearly 1.3 billion. How could it be that such a small fish and shrimp can be provoked? That pirate ship. 4 days have passed, and we have been stranded on this island for 4 days. I don't know if the shaking fruit has been obtained. Owen frowned tightly. Guang Yu Longcheng, I will never let him go if I meet him next time. Smoothie's face was grim and gloomy, and he spoke to Owen through gritted teeth. Enough to fight with Owen, Guang Yu Longcheng's move Hallyu smashed their boat, it is clearly intentional, to delay their time. The key is that they and Longcheng propose to fight, they only can eat this dumb shit. If she loses in the competition for the shocking fruit because of this, what face will she have to see her mother? Smoggy, Owen, Guang Yu Longcheng has helped me and is my good friend. Laura said hesitantly. For Guang Yu Longcheng, Owen is also in a complicated mood. He broke into their Totland alone, injured Katakuri and Bree, and stole the collections in the library, but he kindly helped his sister Lola retrieve the shadow from Moonlight Moria and regain her freedom. Moreover, what Guang Yu Longcheng took away from Totland was his cousin, and it was not wrong to be reasonable. Owen has always insisted that right and wrong are clear, and he fought with Longcheng but completely lost to him. Next, hurry up to find the Junjun fruit, and if you encounter Guang Yu Longcheng again, Laura, you just don't shoot him. Owen said with a sigh. Northeast heading, speed up for me. Smoothie looked cold on the surface, but he was actually very anxious in his heart, and ordered to the helmsman. On the east side of this sea area, a giant raft slowly entered. The huge sail is the ship's flag, on which is carved 3 frowning skulls, one looking left, one looking forward and one looking right. After these three skulls, in addition to the classic crossbones, there is the crossbones. On the top of the bones, large red characters are spray-painted. This is the Blackbeard Pirates. Philo reminds you, 3 things to read. 268. Meet, red-haired Shanks. At the same time, a 2-masted warship sailed in the western part of the sea at a speed much higher than that of a normal sailing ship. The sails of this battleship are painted with the flag of the red-haired pirates, and the iconic red ribbon is tied on the skull. And this ship is the main ship of the red-haired pirates, Redford No. 1 head, iconic red hair, wearing a white shirt, buttoned only halfway, revealing well-proportioned muscles, wearing printed cropped trousers, a pair of flip-flops under his feet, and the famous sword, Jerry, slung around his waist fin. Shanks was standing on the deck with a half-burned cigarette in his mouth, looking out at the sea. No matter what. It was the short stubble around the mouth, the 3 scars from the forehead to the left eye, or the empty sleeve tube with one arm missing, all of which made the red hair exude the charm of a mature man. "Boss, we have entered the waters of the 13 islands delineated by the naval circle." Deputy Captain Ben Beckman came to the red-haired side, leaned his back on the railing on the edge of the deck, took out a cigarette and lit it to his mouth, took a breath, slowly exhaled a puff of smoke and then said, "We're still a little late. I wonder if that kid Lu Fei is here." Shanks put his hand on the railing and raised his chin with one hand. "Ha ha, such a lively thing, that rubber kid must have rushed over immediately." Ben Beckman laughed, thinking of the kid he met in Windmill Village back then. The kid who loves to play, playful and stubborn, and shouts every day that he wants to be the Pirate King. "Ha ha ha, it's been a long time since I saw Luffy, and Luffy is already an excellent pirate." The redhead also remembered those in the Windmill Village. Interesting experience, he laughed. In his heart when he saw the captain's heartfelt smile. Captain didn't misread Luffy Kid. If he didn't believe that Luffy could become a famous man, how could the captain give Luffy the most important straw hat left by his Captain Roger? He sank, his eyes twinkling. "Hurry up, we'll get there before Whitebeard's sons and Blackbeard Titch meet. And those guys in the Navy. Captain, don't worry about Luffy and them. This time, pirates from all over the world are coming." Ben Beckman slowly exhaled a smoke ring again, and said with a slightly worried expression, "The 4 emperors of the New World, the 7 Marshalseas, the pirates who are famous all over the world, the people of the world government, and the Navy who threw this trap. This is bound to be a vigorous battle in the end. Those who Luffy grew up and broke through on the Great Route. They all know the reputation, but even if Luffy is among the 11 supernovas and has a strong strength, he will be in great danger in a doomed melee. That kid will be fine." Shanks narrowed his eyes and smiled. "Ha ha, too, that straw hat he's wearing is Roger's will." The haze on Ben Beckman's face swept away, he laughed, and Shanks' face also showed a trace of reminiscence. "Master, a pirate ship was found ahead. The sniper Jesus BU saw a battleship about a kilometer north from the observation mirror, sailing in the same direction as them, and immediately waved to Shanks. Oh, which little fish swam into the pond." The cadres and members of the ship heard Jesus Booth shouting, and the fat Raikalu smiled when he saw the ship that could not recognize the sign on the flag, showing a row of white teeth. "That's not a small fish, it's a small shrimp." "Ha ha ha. Let's not freak them out. Don't laugh at people, ha ha." Everyone burst into laughter and looked relaxed and happy. The redhead squinted his eyes, turned his back against the railing and said, "Okay, don't worry about them, maybe that guy is just here to try his luck." No one could recognize the logo on the black pirate flag on the ship. It should be just a little pirate who didn't enter the stream. Due to the renovation and upgrade of the Redford, it has double masts and double sails, and the sailing speed is much faster than that of ordinary warships. Soon, the 2 ships were getting closer and closer. That's the Red Force of the Red Hair Pirates. On the ship in front, someone spotted the Red Force approaching behind and exclaimed loudly. Hearing the call, all 3 of Smoothie and Owen Lola immediately came to the stern. It's a redhead indeed. Smoothie looked solemn, and the main ship of the red-haired pirates came, which means that the red-haired Shanks and the cadres were on it. How could the redhead come here in person? Seeing the pirate flag fluttering in the wind on the Redford, the distinctive skull and crossbones logo, Owen frowned. This is tricky. We are not rivals at all. Smoothie clenched his fists tightly. His ship was destroyed by Guangyu Dragon City, which delayed the search for Junjun fruit for a few days, and now he has just hit the road and met the red-haired Shanks, one of the 4 emperors. Why is it so unlucky? Look, please download Feifei for the underlined version of the novel. 269. Shanks, Purpose. After a while, the two ships were less than 50 meters apart. Oh. Shanks leaned on the railing again, resting his chin with one hand, and looked at the number of people in the stern of the ship ahead with interest. That's not the one next to Smoothie of the pirates. It seems to be the scorched Minister Owen of Totland. How come Charlotte Lingling didn't see the Queen chanting the trumpet? Ben Beckman straightened up, wondering. Shanks also recognized that the tall woman, and that the man with the golden-orange hair in the shape of three flames, were the pirate bounty of about 1 billion, Charlotte Smoogie and Charlotte Irving with a 300 million bounty. Next to me, sturdy, with pink hair in double ponytails, Lola who looks a little honest, Shanks. I can't recognize it, but she is probably one of Charlotte Lingling's many daughters. Charlotte Lingling is the same as Kaido, let's go grab the turf. Shouted another crew member. At this time, the two ships were only 20 meters apart. Hey, you are here to find Junjun fruit. Jesus Cloth carelessly shouted to Smoothie and others. Why did Lingling only send you to your ship and what's going on? Shanks looked at Smoothie and Owen and said with a smile. Only sent a desert 3 generals to grab the fruit of Junjun, which is not enough. Hey, the flag on your boat is not yours, your boat is slow, do you want to come to our boat, we will bring you all. Shouted Ben Beckman, his face full of mockery, and his voice was heard by all on both ships. Ha ha ha. The boat is gone ha ha ha. The cadre members standing beside Shanks burst into laughter, making Smoothie and Owen look extremely ugly. What do you mean? Smoothie was poked at the sore spot, and his face was faintly angry and shouted. It doesn't mean anything, they're just joking. The red-haired laughed along with him, and this guy. Because the Redford was much larger than the ship that Siege had temporarily grabbed, the red-haired and others stood on the deck and looked down at the three of Smoothie and Owen at a slight angle, a little condescending. What do you want? Do you want to fight? Owen looked at the disgust of the guys above. His face was the same as when Guangyu Longcheng left in front of them on the island, and his fiery temper immediately came up. No, it's just a joke, you don't have to play a game. Looking at you like this, you probably haven't found the Junjun fruit yet. The redhead said with a smile. Of the Junjun fruit and rushed over as soon as possible. But Shanks didn't come to shake the fruit, he came to the old part of Blackbeard Tiki and Whitebeard who came to find the fruit. Before Blackbeard left the Whitebeard pirates, Shanks knew Blackbeard's anomaly. On Shanks' left eye a conflict with Blackbeard in his early years, and he was scratched by Blackbeard. A man's dream will never end. This is what Blackbeard said to Shanks when he was still in the Whitebeard pirates. Shanks hadn't pondered what Blackbeard Titch said until Titch broke away from the Whitebeard pirates. Especially after the death of Whitebeard, Blackbeard became more active on the Great Route, and Shanks understood this sentence. Blackbeard Tiki's ambition is terrifying, it is not just as simple as wanting to be independent and breaking out. I am afraid that Whitebeard's ambition, the position of the 4 emperors, has been coveted for a long time. And Whitebeard is dead, the captain and members of the 16th Division of the pirates will do their best to protect the reputation of Whitebeard, and will never allow the traitor Blackbeard to take their father's place, ascended the throne of the 4 emperors. Shanks guessed that what was left of Whitebeard, the old part, this force that should not be underestimated, will inevitably become a big worry for Blackbeard, and Blackbeard will definitely not let them go. Shanks came here, all he wanted to do was to help Whitebeard's sons in this fight. They are all people who have witnessed the previous era. Edward Newgate the Whitebeard was the old rival of Captain Roger, whom Shanks most respected, and later became his rival. They are both enemies and friends. Help his sons once, that's the last thing Shanks does for Whitebeard. Humph, don't you know the urine of the Navy? How could it be so easy for us to find the shaking fruit? Smoothie said with his arms crossed over his chest. Smoothie was secretly annoyed. If it wasn't for Longcheng, how much she would have missed these days. The possibility of finding Junjun fruit. But such an ugly thing, as one of the 3 stars of Totland Dessert, Smoothie, she doesn't. Maybe you can say that you will lose your mother's face as one of the 4 emperors. Oh that. Is there anything in the past few days? Is there any news about the Junjun fruit? Whoever got us came late, we don't know anything yet. Shanks shrugged. Philu reminds you. 3 things to read. 270. Ratchet. Do you think I'll tell you if there is any definite news about the Junjun fruit? Smoothie looked at the redhead like a fool, sneered, and said unceremoniously. Even in the face of the most mysterious and domineering man among the 4 emperors, Smoothie did not have any emotion of awe. Hey, be polite. Seeing Smoothie's disrespectful attitude towards the captain, Jesus Boo's face sank and pointed at Smoothie and shouted. Everyone on the boat also had a sullen face, and looked at Smoochie below with bad eyes, and there was a battle that would be done if they didn't agree. Seeing this scene, both Smoothie and Owen looked ugly. As one of the 3 most powerful cadres in the pirates, Smoothie came here to look for and compete for the fruit of Junjun. There is no doubt about his strength. What's more, Smoothie, Owen, and Lola are the 3 of them. Now they represent the banner of the 4 emperors. Other pirates want to challenge them, challenge the majesty of the ant, and first consider whether they can afford it. Big Mom's anger and revenge, even the red-haired Shanks has to consider the consequences of war on both sides. But the red-haired Shanks came in person after all. As one of the 4 emperors, if he really wanted to be serious, he would fight, and it would definitely be a crushing situation. If it really angers the red hair, and the red hair gang takes Smoji and the others captive, then it will be a shame for Mother. We have only met Guangyu Longcheng, and there is no news of shocking fruit. I haven't heard of anyone who has found the Junjun fruit. Smoothie flashed a look of fear, hesitated for a moment, and took the initiative to speak. Humph. Owen snorted coldly, but had to show weakness in the face of the red hair. Oh. Really? That guy is here too. Hearing that Guangyu Longcheng was also here, Beckman and the others showed surprised expressions. One thing this kid did, even these guys who were popular were talking about it. It's good news, I've long wanted to have a drink with that kid. Shanks narrowed his eyes and said with a smile. Hearing what Shanks said, Simu was stunned. When did Guangyu Longcheng and Red Hair have friendship? How come they never heard that Guangyu Longcheng was also here to join in the fun? And Shanks was naturally very happy. Ever since Guangyu Dragon City first appeared on Fishman Island, it has held Tianlong people hostage, defying the coercion of the world government, nobles and the navy, and has done justice for the murlocs and mermaids all over the world, making the reputation of Guangyu Longcheng spread all over the world. All over the world, Shanks admired this young man for his actions and temperament. Not long after that, when he heard that Guangyu Longcheng was making a fuss about the advancing city, he would break through the advancing city and rescue Jinping, and Shanks appreciated the courage and strength of Guangyu Longcheng even more. When the news that Guangyu Longcheng was arrested by the Navy, detained at the Marine headquarters, and publicly executed came, Shanks felt very sorry for this young man with unlimited potential. The wonderful pirate career didn't take long, and it was terminated early. Who knew that in such a desperate situation, Guangyu Longcheng could create a miracle to escape from birth? When the public execution was carried out, all the friends of Guangyu Longcheng did their best to rescue them, the new giant pirates, the fur tribe, the sun pirates, mermaids. Even the Whitebeard pirates helped to contain the navy and naval branches around the world, which is enough to see the popularity and character of Guangyu Longcheng. Moreover, the Straw Hats also went to rescue Guangyu Longcheng. It was also at that time that Shanks knew that Luffy and the others were also related to Guangyu Longcheng. In a sense, Guangyu Longcheng and Shanks also had some relationship. The Jesus cloth next to him is Usopp's father, and Shanks himself gave Luffy the most important straw hat. Guangyu Longcheng is a friend of the Straw Hat Pirates, and Shanks naturally regards Longcheng as a junior. Hey, then your ship was not lost by that kid in Guangyu Longcheng. It won't be so embarrassing. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Even the ship of the 3 generals was lost by that bastard, okay. The Redford said something, and everyone responded with laughter. Looking at the smiling faces of the people around the red-haired man, Smoothie's face was gloomy and his fists were clenched. All right, all right. Sensing that Smoothie was about to go into a rage, Shanks waved his hand to tell everyone to stop, so as not to make a fuss. At that time, Smoothie couldn't beat them, and Shanks didn't have the face to lose. Let's go, let's go. Hurry up and find Junjun fruit, don't waste any more time. Shanks said towards Smoothie below, then turned away from the railing. Go, let's go back for a drink. Seeing this, Ben Beckman and the others just glanced at Smoothie and Owen, and followed Shanks back to drink. 271. The Black Wrist Zephyr is here. Seeing that the red-haired people had no intention of attacking them, Smoothie and Owen were sullen, but secretly relieved in their hearts. The two looked at each other, and both found that their backs were soaked with cold sweat unconsciously, and there were traces of perspiration on their foreheads that were difficult to detect. And Lola has been by the side without speaking, but it seems that nothing has happened. Seeing that the Redford, which was almost twice as fast as them, gradually receded from their sight, Smoothie and Owen showed deep fear in their eyes. Smoothie secretly felt heart palpitations. The red-haired Shanks possessed the strongest domineering in the world, and just the inadvertent coercion made her feel terrible psychological pressure. It seems that the legendary red-haired domineering, even it's true that ships can shake. Change course and head east. Smoothie frowned and ordered coldly. Yes. The subordinates on the side immediately acted to give orders. Everyone around Smoothie knows how scary Smoothie is when she's in a bad mood. Someone annoyed Smoothie before, and was forced to dry up. Seeing that Smoothie's face was not good, all of these subordinates were walking on thin ice, looking at the person who took the lead to leave, all secretly showing envious expressions. What are you going to do? Smoothie glanced sideways at his subordinates and said impatiently. After being disgusted by Guangyu Longcheng for a while, and seeing the red hair again, she now finds nothing pleasing to the eye. Those subordinates breathed a sigh of relief in their hearts, and walked away as quickly as they had been granted amnesty. All the redheads came here, what are they doing? Owen frowned thoughtfully. Both Mom and Beast Kaido temporarily removed the oppression of the Navy and focused on fighting for territory and power, and only sent their subordinates to snatch the shocking fruit. Mama sent them, Kaido sent Drought Jia. But the red-haired pirates are all here. Is it just to shake the fruit to the position of the four emperors? Can a one devil fruit be more important than the territory and power? I don't know, we have to avoid an encounter together. Hurry up, time to find the Junjun fruit and bring it back to Mother. Smoothie said with a firm look. This mission, she must do it beautifully, bring the devil fruit back to her mother, and cannot let her mother be disappointed with herself. The red-haired pirates have already sailed northward, and their speed is much faster than them. Even if there is a shocking fruit behind the red-haired, they will not be able to turn to Smoothie and the others. It is better to find another unexplored island. So Smoothie immediately decided to change course and head east. Invisibly, Smoothie's group went to the same destination as the Blackbeard pirates from east to west. There is a hidden island in this sea area with a radius of 1,000 miles drawn by the Navy. In the sea around the island, the air exudes subtle fluctuations that are invisible to the naked eye. The propagation of light in this area seems to have undergone incomprehensible changes. If you look at it from the outside, the island seems to be non-existent. What people can see is only the vast and boundless sea, sparkling and diffusing the sunlight. Hidden, by the light. The sea area, hundreds of meters away from the island, a warship hovered on the sea. The three current admirals of the Navy headquarters, Kizaru Borsellino, Akainu Sakaski, and Aokiku Kuzan are all aboard this warship. In front of the three admirals, there is one with a head. A tall man with short purple hair, wearing a purple suit and wearing a Navy Justice Commander on his shoulders. The most obvious feature is the huge Heilushi mechanical arm on his right arm. Former Admiral, now an instructor's, black wrist. Zephyr. The three generals behind him, Kizaru, Akainu, and Aokiji, were all students of this man more than 30 years ago. Many famous generals in the Navy today, as well as many excellent vice admirals, are also the student under the door. That robotic arm, named Smasher. The whole body is made of sea-floor stone. It is a powerful weapon specially designed by scientists to deal with pirates after Zepha's right arm was severely damaged when the training ship led by Zepha was attacked by pirates a few years ago. Weapons. Those damn pirates, how many have come? Zepha looked serious, and when he mentioned pirates, there was a look of incomparable hatred and disgust in his eyes. This time, it was the warring states of the Navy that decided to send him here to hunt. A pirate, Zepha, who has always had his own temper, immediately agreed to the arrangement of the warring states without hesitation. Since his wife and children were killed by pirates more than 30 years ago, Zepha has hated pirates extremely. This time, the Navy used the junjun fruit as bait, and regarded the pirates all over the world coveted with the junjun fruit as fish, and attracted them all to this sea area with a radius of 1,000 miles. For Zepha, the thief's chance for revenge. There have been quite a few. Except for the red hair, all of the 4 emperors have arrived, and the rest and Kaido's cadres have arrived. Akainu replied in a low voice. Philo reminds you. 3 things to read. 272. The 4th island. Those sons of Whitebeard seem to be here too. Aokiji wears sunglasses, can't see any expression, and said in a flat tone. Except the 4 emperors, a large number of up-and-coming pirates like the Straw Hat Pirates, Kid Pirates, and Handsome Pirates from the Great Root are here. Kizaru put his hands in his trouser pockets. With a cynical look, he said with a crooked mouth. It doesn't matter. How many pirates? Greed shakes the power of the fruit. They will all be defeated by justice in the end. Zepha clenched his fist tightly in front of his chest. The muscles on his arms were as strong as a horned dragon, and said with a firm gaze. What I care more about is Guangyu Longcheng. This bastard is here too. Akainu clenched his fists tightly, and there was a hint of worry in his eyes. He always felt that the kid Guangyu Longcheng would be a variable in the Navy's plan. Oh, this guy Guangyu Longcheng is really not easy. Kazuna Nunazui. Last time he teamed up with the old hero Garp to let Guangyu Longcheng slip away under their noses. As admirals of the Navy, you are so shy about a hairy boy. Seeing Kizaru and Akainu's solemn expressions, Zepha frowned. Those in Guangyu Dragon City. Brightness. Deeds, Zepha naturally have heard of it. 3 generals of the Navy, including themselves, are all assembled here, and they are so afraid of a young man. If it is spread out that their navy will have any face, no. The strength of Guangyu Longcheng is already the closest to the 4 emperors. And that guy has dug holes for the navy many times. His trajectory is unpredictable, and his mind is so deep that it doesn't seem like a young man can have it. Akainu retorted excitedly that he had already lost to Longcheng more than once. That's why you were fooled around by that kid. That kid was imprisoned in Marin Vando for more than a month. And you can let that kid escape right under your nose. The yellow monkey said sarcastically. Humph, you're not still like that. The legs that claim to be the speed of light can make him slip away. The hot-tempered Akainu was furious when he heard the words, and immediately accused Kizaru for not succeeding in keeping him when Garp and Kazuki Ryachung handed over the pirates last time. Okay, what are you arguing about here? All 3 of you are here now. Don't tell me you don't even have the confidence to catch a pirate. Zepha slapped the railing, and the iron railing with thick arms was directly slapped by Zepha, and Akainu stared wide-eyed, shut his mouth and stopped talking. Let's just sit and wait for the fish to take the bait. Aokiji, who had been silent by the side, said lightly. Boss Longcheng, I found an island about 4 miles ahead. Kaido stood on the watchtower and shouted excitedly towards the dragon city below. They have been in this sea area for several days. According to the information released by the Navy and the incomplete map given by Miss Nami, they are like blind men exploring the way, with no clue. In front was only the 4th they encountered. I happened to meet the Kid Pirates before, and after Dragon City overthrew Kid and his gang, I encountered another island. The island, from a distance, was full of fire. There are several warships that are obviously not a pirate group parked on the shore. You don't need to look to know which ones are. The pirate group has a conflict on this island looking for the fruit of the shock. The flags and signs on the pirate ship, they don't even recognize them. Most of them are pirate groups that are not very famous and of average strength, risking the risk of melee to try their luck here. Only one of the pirate ships could recognize which pirate group it belonged to. It seemed to be Bajaloo Hawkins, who ranked 3rd in the Supernova 11. A funny guy who loves divination. It is said that he has the ability of straw fruit. No matter what decision he makes, he will do divination before taking any action. It's just that Longcheng just glanced at it from a distance, and didn't let them dock, saying that there was no shaking fruit there. There was no need. Wasting time to land, and then directly looking for the next target island. 4. Guangyu Longcheng doesn't even need to land on the island to know if there is any. Junjun fruit. Duke Inulin and the shopkeeper of Cat Viper are naturally unconditional trust. Because there are so many miracles that are difficult for ordinary people to understand in His Highness, such absolute rules as those with devil fruit ability are afraid of sea water, do not apply to His Highness. What's more, Duke Inuarashi and the shopkeeper Cat Viper watched the temple grow step by step, knowing that His Highness is not the kind of person who acts indiscriminately, but is extremely planned and measured. Caesar and Monet did not dare to doubt it. Especially Monet, since the last time he was told by Guangyu Longcheng one by one what color they were wearing, Monet blushed involuntarily every time he was swept by Guangyu Longcheng's gaze. Oh! Longcheng let out a sigh, looked forward along the sea, and cast the absolute domain to spread to the distance, covering the entire island. Come on shore. Then Longcheng instructed Duke Inu land next to him. Yes, Your Highness, the island ahead is docked. Duke Inuarashi came down and commanded Monet, who was at the helm behind him. 273. Dock. Discover old acquaintances. Longcheng boss, there is a shock fruit on this island. Seeing that Longcheng immediately docked without hesitation this time, Caribou, who was standing beside him, asked tentatively with his eyes rolling. No. Longcheng shook his head and said. Your Highness, then we. The shopkeeper of Cat Viper wondered. It's not the shock fruit, we have old friends there. Longcheng said with a smile. Old friend. Yes, it's Bista. Longcheng said with a slightly happy expression. Longcheng was rather surprised to meet the members of the Whitebeard Pirates so soon. Bista, nicknamed Foil, captain of the 5th Division of the Whitebeard Pirates, has been a member of the Whitebeard Pirates more than 30 years ago. Previously because of the Dragon Man incident. Longcheng followed Jinping to find Whitebeard and asked for Whitebeard's protection. It's just that during the time when the Whitebeard Pirates practiced Murloc Jiu-Jitsu, Longcheng and Bista didn't have much communication. However, he also knew that this two-swordsman with a calm and easygoing personality, with a smile on his face all day, was not only very powerful, but also a person who was easy to get along with. Boss Longcheng, you mean Foil Bista of the Whitebeard Pirates? Black, who has information on many famous pirates in the world, asked with a face full of surprise. Brack also has a lot of research on the world's famous swordsmen. Although Bista, the captain of the 2nd Division of the Whitebeard Pirates, is not as famous as Hokage Mahawk, it does not represent Bista's swordsmanship. Strength is weaker than Hokage Mahawk. Yes, let's get to the shore soon. Wei, help Bista with a little trouble. Reuniting with the members of the Whitebeard Pirates, Longcheng felt a little cordial in his heart and a little excited, and urged Monet. The days he spent on the Moby Dick, getting along with the Whitebeards, were one of the happiest times he had ever spent in the pirate world. After knowing the bad news of Whitebeard, although I didn't mention it, I was worried about the sons of Whitebeard in my heart. Without Whitebeard, the Whitebeard Pirates seem to be missing the biggest pillar, whether it is the overall strength of the pirates or the spiritual level they are about to face are those. The territory of Whitebeard, the great pirates who have been coveting them for a long time, and the crusade from the navy. With and without a Whitebeard, there are two completely different situations. When Whitebeard was there, neither the four emperors, Kaido, the navy, nor Blackbeard or other pirates dared to provoke them easily. Now that the greatest deterrent from Whitebeard has disappeared, the navy and the big pirates who have long coveted Whitebeard's territory will naturally spare no effort to deal with them. That I have a little trouble to help out before I reminisce with Beasta. Longcheng, who has used the absolute domain, has already grasped the situation on the island clearly. This island is not only Beasta, but also the members of the Ward Pirates. At this moment, the two sides have already clashed, and it seems that they are about to fight. Longcheng, who has read the original book, is well aware of Bondewald's troubles. This guy is also a powerful character with great ambition. He is called World Destroyer. Beasta has played against him many times, and the outcome is hard to tell. A few miles away, under the order of Longcheng, Monet took the helm and pushed forward at full speed, and soon the ship grabbed from the kid pirates docked on the shore of the island. Go! Longcheng jumped off the deck, followed by Duke Inuarashi and Cat Viper shopkeeper, followed by Caesar Monet and others. Your Highness, the trouble you're talking about is? Duke Inuarashi asked in confusion. Bondewald, Ward Pirates. You follow. Longcheng replied without turning his head, and then directly shaved, and shuttled straight to the depths of the island. Duke Inulan and Cat Viper looked at each other, nodded to each other, and chased after Longcheng. Caesar, Monet, Caribou and others seemed to be ignored, muttered a few words in their hearts, and quickly followed. Only the fat man Blake was left, watching everyone else disappear so fast, and ran all the way behind him. Longcheng boss, wait for me. Momo 100 times / Boom. A huge humming sound of metal collision spread from the depths of the island to all around, and a powerful impact oscillated around in a circle. The trees in the jungle were shaken and bent slightly backwards. Duke Inulan and the shopkeeper Cat Viper chased in the direction that His Royal Highness Longcheng fled, and suddenly heard a deafening sound of swords crashing and humming, and the surrounding trees were slightly bent backwards by the impact. For a time, the leaves rustled. There was a loud noise, and he couldn't help but stop in surprise. What is this? This is Bondewald's Momo fruit ability. Looking through the branches and leaves above my head, I saw an incredible huge sword with a length of several hundred meters leaning in the sky. Philo reminds you. Collection of 3 things to read. 274. Conflict. Ward Pirates. This is Giants. Monet and the others who were following behind stopped and looked up in astonishment. I saw the giant sword that appeared out of nowhere in the deep jungle in the distance, as if it had slashed on something extremely hard, and it couldn't go down any further. Just that they looked at each other, hesitated for a moment, and then ran towards the direction where Longcheng disappeared. Deep in the jungle, Beasta's long beard was curved, a smile on his face, revealing 2 rows of white teeth. His hands crossed the sword above his head, firmly against the huge sword that instantly became 100 times longer and weighed 1,000 pounds. The soil beneath his feet had already sunk into a deep pit. I'm going to destroy you, destroy you. On the other side, Bondewald held a huge long sword that was magnified 100 times by the power of the Momo fruit, and shouted with a grim expression, and then the giant sword in his hand pressed down again. Closer look. On the shoulders of the sturdy and tall Bondewald, there is still a dwarf old man who is dangling from an infusion, wearing a big coat in the summer, and is skinny. Beside Bondewald stood a man with a 1-person high iron hammer, a fish giant wearing sunglasses and holding a barbed iron ball in each hand, a tall man, wearing a pink cheongsam, a white cape, and a long purple head. Woman with hair. They are the vice captain and brain tank of the Ward Pirates, the equivalent of Bundy's brother Bing Jack. Gulojadi's engineer combatant Guy Ram. Of a Murloc and a giant, Sebastian, the keeper of the Gulosidi. Of the Ward Pirates, Nai Chin, who looks very young after taking medicine, is actually 80 years old. Behind them, there are a group of pirates, subordinates, looking arrogantly at Beasta and his subordinates. Newgate is dead. No matter how brilliant he was, he is nothing but an immortality left over from the previous era. You young people are still doing a lot. Why are you still hanging under the banner of Whitebeard? Why didn't you join us in upending this unfair world? The thin old man Bing Jack, who was sitting on Bundywald's shoulders, said tremblingly, with only a few teeth left in his mouth, and his speech was a little leaky. Was pressed by the giant sword on top of his head, suddenly had blue veins, his hands still tightly holding his two western swords, and his feet sank deep into the soil again. Captain Vista. Damn. You bastards, what nonsense. ... The members of the 5th Division standing beside Vista, when they heard Bing Jake say that their most beloved daddy is the old immortal leftover from the previous era, they yelled angrily and stared at Ward opposite him in a bad tone. Pirates. Dad isn't. Scumbags like you are qualified to judge. Vista was furious, shouted violently, his hands trembled slightly, and then he suddenly exerted force, holding the long sword and pushing it upward. The blades of the 3 swords rubbed violently, rubbing, and dazzling electric sparks were emitted, which were sharp and sharp. A metallic hum that can almost pierce the eardrums. Under the huge thrust that erupted from Vista, the giant long sword in Bondewald's hand was released. Hoo. This huge sword that was hundreds of meters long and weighed thousands of kilograms was picked up and flew, spinning round and round in the sky, making a whistling sound as it rubbed against the air. After a while, this giant sword slowly stagnated for a while after reaching a height of several thousand meters, rotated until the tip of the sword pointed downward, and then roared and plunged downward. Piercing the sky sounded, and within a few seconds the giant sword fell through thousands of meters. The resistance of the ground kept shaking, making a continuous humming sound. Even if Whitebeard was a hero in his lifetime, he is a bear when he dies. Ha. Bundywald narrowed his eyes, as if he was extremely happy to hear the news of Whitebeard's death, opened his mouth and laughed recklessly, ignoring Vista at all. What did you say? For someone like you, if Dad were alive, he could crush you to death with one hand. Hearing Bundywald wantonly taunting and trampling on his father's dignity, Vista laughed angrily, and grabbed 2 swords straight at Bundywald. What if the Whitebeard is still alive? That's just a poor old guy who hangs his life on the potion. He should have died a long time ago, and returned a Junjun fruit to this world. Bundywald said with a look of disdain, indifferent to Vista's anger. Gairam, give me your hammer. Bundy calmly took the giant hammer that Gairam had taken from behind, and swung it hard at the sprinting Vista. Momo 100 times the hammer. As Bundywald drank in a deep voice, the hammer in his hand instantly became 100 times bigger, making a sound of breaking through the air. Like an iron mountain, it swung towards Vista. 275. Confrontation. The horror power of Momo fruit. Bondewald held that huge and terrifying hammer, like a black iron mountain, covering the sky and leaving a large shadow on the ground. Again. What's the matter with this hammer? How can it suddenly become so big? No, it's too exaggerated. The sword just now suddenly became so big. Captain Vista. Quick, let's go up and help. ... Of Vista's 5th Division exclaimed in surprise, watching the hammer, which had grown hundreds of times in size, but did not decrease in speed, smashed through the wind with a terrifying force. They were ready to fight one person in front of them, and they all caught up and took out their weapons to help resist together. What are you doing? Step back. Vista noticed that the team members behind him were rushing up with him, and he was going to drink them back. The strength of the opponent's level was not something they could resist. Just that Vista didn't turn his head, but with resolute eyes, he spread out his 2 swords in both hands, and rushed forward, ready to hit hard against Bondewald's 100-fold hammer. Who claims to be Bundywald is really too strong, and Vista realized this when he fought with Bundy just now. It's just that such a strong person, why has he never heard of such a person facing this old man named Bondewald, who is about the same age as his father? Vista has a feeling that he is not sure he can defeat the opponent. But insulting Papa, no matter what. No one can do it. Fight. Vista's silver teeth clenched, the purple hilt in his left hand and the blue hilt in his right hand gripped tightly, and pink petals appeared out of nowhere, wrapping around the blade. Young man, I admire your courage. So let me hammer you to a puddle. Bondewald showed a mad and wanton smile, and smashed the giant hammer in his hand towards Vista. 100,000 tile Jungchen Black Dragon. With a sudden roar, Vista, who was sprinting at a high speed, was stunned for a moment. At this time, the giant hammer was only a few meters away from the top of the head, and at some point in front of him, a familiar figure appeared out of thin air, and he slammed towards the giant hammer with his bare hands. In the face of Bondewald, Longcheng, who arrived in time by Shi Xiao, did not hesitate to take out the 100,000 tile fist black dragon that confronted Garp. The gravitational force from the 100-fold iron hammer pressed down fiercely. Boom! The right fist of Longcheng wrapped the black domineering power with super hardness after the system was strengthened, and the punch collided with the iron hammer that was 100 times bigger than the human being, sending out the loud sound of the metal iron slamming violently. Rumbling. A force that shook the entire island instantly spread to the surrounding with the Dragon City as the center, and the sea around the coastline of the island also stirred up layers of waves. Under the giant hammer, the entire land vibrated and set off a large piece of dust, which filled the surroundings. Compared with the giant iron hammer, Longcheng was as small as an ant, but it firmly resisted the giant hammer. Good guy. Bondewald exclaimed slightly, and the strong vibration shook Bondewald's arm numb, and he almost couldn't hold the hammer and wanted to let go. Vista was stunned for a moment, and then immediately recognized this familiar and powerful young figure. Vista smiled knowingly and immediately changed his attacking strategy. He was going to try to split this huge hammer with a sword, and then take advantage of the situation to kill Bondewald. Vista kept his footsteps and rushed out of the gap left by Longcheng with a hammer for him, holding left and right, two foil swords. The blades were twisted, and the sharp edge appeared, moving towards Bondewald in front of him. A sudden wave. The flash of lightning, two cyan sword chi shot out from the blade, like two cyan meniscus streaks towards Bondewald. Bondewald's chest broke two blood slots, and a cloud of blood mist spewed out. The two swords were swung out, and Vista stopped, with a smile on his face, and the petals on the blade in his hand were still slowly fluttering. Guangyu Longcheng's other fist was handed out again, and it slammed into the giant hammer. Bang! Bundy's hammer went straight out of his hand and flew into the sky. Nice job. Who is that? It seems to be Guangyu Dragon City. When did he come? That kid is so strong. ... Longcheng, who had been evading naval pursuit on their Moby Dick for a while, suddenly appeared. The members of the 5th Division were amazed. Although they haven't seen Guangyu Longcheng for a long time, their Whitebeard pirates have been paying attention to this young man who was once very optimistic about his father, and they have also been concerned about the big events that Guangyu Longcheng broke into. Heard. When the Battle of Marin Vando broke out, their 5th Division was one of the main forces of the Whitebeard pirates in naval branches around the world to contain the navy. Vista, long time no see. Guangyu Longcheng stood on the spot with a smile on his face and smiled at Vista. Phailu reminds you. 3 things to read. 276. Turn the world upside down with me. The hammer as big as a small warship instantly flew several kilometers away from the center of the island, threw it into the air above the sea not far from the island, and roared and crashed from the height of 1 kilometer. PFF'd. Crash. The sea was still shaking and surging, and the big hammer slammed into the sea again, smashing the sea into a huge pit of several hundred meters. For a time, the giant crater pushed away thousands of tons of seawater, causing a large wave of waves. After a while, a large amount of seawater surged back and rushed back into the giant crater, and a water column with a thickness of hundreds of meters was formed in the center of the giant crater, rising into the sky, and then falling to the sea. Long time no see. You have become so strong. Vista lowered his arms, held the 2 foil swords upside down, turned slightly sideways, and said to Longcheng with a smile. Who are you? Good guy, you have some strength. But at this level, you will be killed by me. Bundywald suffered 2 sword wounds on his chest, paused slightly, but did not fall back as Beasta expected, but stood firm, with a long beard at the corners of his mouth slightly raised, revealing rampant smile shouted. Wald, don't underestimate the enemy, that's Guangyu Dragon City. The dwarf old man Bing Jack, who was sitting on Bundywald's shoulders, showed a dignified expression and reminded Bundywald. As the vice captain of the Ward Pirates and the think tank of Bundywald, this frail old man who looks half dead has an amazing intelligence network, and at a glance recognizes the Dragon City of the Moon and the Moon, which has been lifted on the sea. The stormy new pirate superstar. Oh, so you are Guangyu Dragon City. Hearing Bing Jake's reminder, Bundywald took a serious look at Longcheng, and then said. After Bundywald escaped from the advanced city, Bing Jack immediately got the information, contacted Bundywald as soon as possible, and called back the members of the Ward Pirates. During this period, Bing Jack continued to collect all the deeds and information about the Dragon City of Guangyu. It can be said that, apart from Dragon City came from another world, and has an infinite reinforcement system, and the fact that Guangyu Dragon City is the heir of Wano Kingdom, Bandai City is almost familiar with it. Including Guangyu Longcheng going to Dressrosa to overthrow Doflamingo's Shichibukai name to capture a large number of pirates for the navy. In fact, it led the white pirates and pirates of the 4 emperors to attack the navy. Even Kazuki Dragon City later broke into Totland alone and rescued a son named Momonosuke. Bundywald knew it very well. Longcheng also had a dignified look, and his 100,000 tile fist black dragon covered the system enhanced armament and domineering, and even cracked and bleeds the iron fist of the Navy's highest combat power, Shangkarp. But Bundywald in front of him seemed to be unconscious at all, and Longcheng used 2 punches to let Bundywald blow away the hammer in his hand. What degree of physical fitness and strength is this? Although the Bundywald in front of him looks like he is only 40 or 50 years old, in fact, he is close to 80 years old. In the original book, Bundywald is called World Breaker. And One Piece Roger, Whitebeard is the great pirate of the same era, and the man who made the world government and the navy fear with Roger and Whitebeard. Bundywald can still have such a powerful man at his age strength. How terrifying it would be at such a young age. No wonder even the navy is afraid of this man. Ha ha ha. Speaking of which, if it weren't for you, I'd still be imprisoned in the Push City by the bastard world government. Bundywald laughed wildly. The old guy from the previous era, when he is old, doesn't buy a coffin and waits to die, and he comes out to make trouble for what? Longcheng frowned and said. Humph. Of course it's revenge. The world government's bastards have placed spies by my side, instigated my subordinates, and kept me frozen in the advancing city for 30 years. 30 years. What a shame. I'm going to let the world government, the navy. No, I'm going to let the whole world suffer the wrath of being trapped for 30 years. At the mention of this, Bundywald roared in rage, his eyes full of hatred and anger. Why so? Those who threaten to destroy the world will eventually be destroyed by the world. Longcheng sighed lightly. No matter how strong Bundywald is, he is still only a person after all. The truth that evil cannot overcome righteousness is not just the superficial meaning that evil cannot overcome justice. Of Bundywald 30 years ago, he will be punished sooner or later by making all living beings go through. Humph, I don't care so much. Young man, I think your potential is good, why don't you join me? My pirate group will definitely become the most powerful force in the world. Join me and subvert this dog day with me world. Bundywald stared at Dragon City and threw an olive branch to Dragon City. 277. Recruitment failed. Go to war. The strongest pirate squad. I'm sorry, I'm not interested, I don't need it. Moreover, to be the strongest, I don't need to rely on others. Longcheng shook his head, directly ignoring the olive branch that Bundywald handed over. This Bundywald, with the ability of Momo Fruit, is an extremely powerful pirate, and once was at the same level as Whitebeard. In the original book, Bundywald escaped when Luffy made a fuss about advancing the city. Now listening to Bundywald's description, Bundiwald escaped with a large number of fugitives when he went to rescue Jinbei and penetrated the advanced city. Between the yin and the yang, Longcheng still put this troublesome character on the sea. Bundiwald has a huge ambition to destroy everything and subvert the world, not only hostile to the world government, but also a huge threat to the pirates. This is not the most important thing. The most dangerous thing about Bundiwald is that he not only targets the world government, the navy and the powerful pirates, but also the ordinary civilians wherever he goes, and destroys wherever he goes. As the culprit who personally released the great calamity of Bundiwald from the advancing city, since Longcheng encountered Bundiwald, he would not allow him to continue to cause trouble. You really don't want to join my pirate group. Bundiwald's eyes were gloomy and his tone became cold, and he said to Guangyu Longcheng, "Wald, I will not join your pirate group. Not only that, I won't let your pirate group leave this place like this, to make trouble and harm those innocent civilians." Longcheng said calmly, but the muscles on his body were activated, ready to attack Bundiwald at any time. "In this case, if you don't be my partner, then become my enemy. Everything that stands in my way will be destroyed. And you, Newgate's house game is over. You, little ones, just bury Newgate with you." Being rejected by Longcheng unceremoniously, without giving any face, Bundiwald's face sank, and he took out the pistol in his arms and pointed at Longcheng. "Momo 10 times the gun." Bang! Bundiwald pulled the trigger, and the black hole immediately spewed a tongue of flame. The moment a bullet was fired from the muzzle, it immediately became 10, the size of a fist. With a sharp sound of breaking through the air, the bullet shot towards Longcheng at a terrifying speed. Not only is the size 10 times larger, but the moment the bullet leaves the muzzle, the speed is also 10 times faster. Too fast. Longcheng's pupils shrank slightly. At such a speed, even his naked eyes could hardly keep up. Longcheng was about to shave to leave, but behind him, the members of the 5th Division of Bista. If Longcheng left directly, the team members behind him will definitely be blasted with a big hole by this bullet like a small cannonball. It's too late to think too much. Almost as soon as the bullet is fired, Longcheng directly turns on the domineering armed color, covering his chest with super hard black coating. The team members behind the stand-ins are ready to resist the cannonball. Almost in an instant, the bullet, which was violently rubbed red all over by the air, came to Longcheng's eyes. Dodge! At this moment, a loud shout from Foil Bista rang in Longcheng's ear. Then Longcheng's eyes flickered, and Bista's tall body stood in front of Longcheng. Shadows swept past, and the 2 foil swords in Bista's hands slashed straight ahead. Buzz! A sharp and harsh metal friction sounded, and Longcheng saw a lot of sparks appearing in front of Bista. The next instant, Longcheng saw 2 bullets cut in half, one left and one flying away from Bista. What Longcheng caught with the naked eye was the smooth and shiny bullets on the bullets. Metal cut surface. Probably because of Bista's skillful use of swordsmanship, the 2 half-cut bullets passed behind Bista, and instead of shooting straight to the rear, they drew 2 outward arcs, and finally left and right. Flying horizontally and far away. Clap, clap, boom. Then there were 2 loud noises in the woods in the left and right directions, the sound of the trees being knocked down by 10 times the bullets of Bundiwald. "Thank you." "No." Longcheng thanked Bista. Bista didn't turn his head back, and immediately sprinted towards Bundiwald. The bullet just now, Longcheng can take it, but it won't feel good. Looking at Bista's back, Longcheng smiled lightly, and everything was silent. Longcheng was not stunned either, following in Bista's footsteps, dashing forward while pulling his position sideways, and Bista attacked Bundiwald from left to right. "Wald, be careful," Bingjak said tremblingly, sitting on Walder's shoulders. "Humph, little ones, kill them with me." Wald waved his hand and shouted loudly. "Philo reminds you, 3 things to read." 278. Boom. 50 times the power of fist. As soon as Bundiwald issued the order, the 3 subordinates of Ward pirates, Gyram, Sebastian, and Nakan, rushed straight to the members of the 5th Division. "Come on. Kick these bastards away. His grandmas. How dare you say our father? ... The members of the 5th Division behind Longcheng and Beasta stared at the ward pirates with bad eyes, and one by one pulled out their weapons and shouted angrily and rushed towards the opposite side. Hey hey hey. Die in peace under my iron ball. Come on, sister, give you some medicine. Gyram and the other 3 let out gloomy laughter, and after a while, they were fighting with the members of the 5th Division. Eat my trick. The Rubik's Cube is confused. Gyram narrowed his eyes. Although the hammer was taken by Captain Walder and blasted into the sea by the Dragon City of the Moon and Moon, he still had the ability to superhuman cube fruit. Murloc Karate. Who is burly because he is a hybrid of a Murloc and a giant, is blind in both eyes due to countless battles in the past, and wears sunglasses all the time, but it does not affect his strong power. The members of the 5th Division were suppressed to the death. Traditional Chinese medicine boxing secret medicine ketchup hell. Master of traditional Chinese medicine boxing. In the original book, he once beaten Boya Hankook, the Empress of the 7 Wuhai Sea, to a disorganized and embarrassed state. Damn. Why so strong? For a time, in the face of the powerful combat power of the ward pirates, the members of the 5th Division were at a disadvantage. On the other side, Bondewald, Dragon City, and Beasta got into a 3-man melee. Moved at a high speed, constantly looking for an angle to throw his sword at Bondewald. With Beasta's sword, petals fluttered magically in the air, which was really beautiful. But under this seemingly gentle scene, there is an endless danger and fierceness hidden. Who can compete with the world's greatest swordsman? Cormahawk is one-handed and two-handed. Every sword chi is wrapped in a chilling breath. And Longcheng was cooperating with Beasta's attack. Although the two joined forces for the first time, they kept moving in a tacit understanding, attacking each other in turn. However, Bondewald's strength is too tyrannical, and with the ability of Momo Fruit, he can control his strength and speed between 1 and 100 times as he wants. The flank attack will always be evaded by Bondewald with a super speed called teleportation, and the frontal attack even Longcheng cannot guarantee that he has an absolute advantage in strength. Your Highness. Master. Boss of Dragon City. Duke Nuarashi and the shopkeeper Cat Viper, along with Caesar, Monet, Caribou and others, followed the fight to this place, rushed out of the jungle, and immediately saw the melee. Longcheng heard their voices, but did not have any extra thoughts to pay attention to them, and focused on cooperating with Beasta to siege Bondewald. Shoot your guns. Taking advantage of the tricky sword from Beasta's angle and handed out the gap to seal Bondewald's whereabouts, Longcheng found the opportunity to cast a shave and jumped behind Bondewald, his fingers like hooks. Hundreds of air bombs were shot instantly from the fingertips. Seeing this scene, Caesar, Monet and others secretly stunned. How many people can make the boss of Longcheng fall into such a hard fight? What are you doing? Shopkeeper Cat Viper shouted and ran straight towards the battlefield of Longcheng with Duke Inuarashi. When Caesar and the others heard the words, they immediately came back to their senses and rushed forward to help. You go over there to help the 5th Division. I see ain't help here. Corner of his eye, he saw Duke Inulan and the others rushing over to help, and Longcheng took out the space and shouted at them. Yes, Your Highness. Let's go over there and deal with them. Duke Inuarashi and the shopkeeper Cat Viper heard nothing, and immediately took Caesar and the others to turn around to support the inferior team members. Little devil, how dare you be distracted by hitting you with me? Momo punches 50 times. Bondewald slapped Longcheng with a fistful of finger guns, then turned his body in an instant, and swung a punch at Longcheng, who was distracted. The fist wind roared, almost to Longcheng's face. Bang! Longcheng reacted immediately, and quickly covered his face with armed arrogance, and Bondewald punched Longcheng's face. Bang! It took Bondewald's 50 times punch enough to shatter the ground, and the Dragon City flew backwards like a cannonball. Trees smashed in the middle. Your Highness. Duke Inuarashi and the shopkeeper Cat Viper exclaimed in unison, revealing a deep worry. be able to blast His Highness Longcheng so easily. Looking at the strength and reaction speed of this shot, I am afraid that it is stronger than that of a naval admiral. It's okay. The next moment, Longcheng's figure instantly traveled hundreds of meters and punched Bondewald. 279 million tile is useless. Seeing Guangyu Longcheng returning to the battlefield to launch an offensive, Vista reacted almost at the same time, and immediately moved around Bondewald to distance himself. Then Vista found a lateral position, holding two swords. The ground turned into an afterimage and sprinted towards Bondeward, completely blocking Bondeward's lateral space. Perform an enhanced shave. The Dragon City, without even leaving an afterimage, came to Bondewald's side in an instant. 100,000 tile Zhengchen times 10. Expressionless face, Longcheng snorted softly, his right arm was charged, his blue veins burst, and he punched Bondewald's abdomen with a straight punch that was enough to shatter millions of tiles. Bang! Longcheng slammed into Bondewald's stomach with a punch. Picture seems to be in. This moment freezes. The strong and burly Bondewald bends his back and arches into a shrimp shape. And Bing Jack, who was sitting on Bondewald's shoulders, fell from his shoulders. The next instant, Longcheng was punched by the millions of tiles that had penetrated and pushed into the bottom of the city. This time, it was Bondewald's turn to turn into a shadow and flew straight to the cliff that was thousands of meters behind him. Bondewald's speed was so fast that it almost cut through the air. Bang! A loud bang, Bondewald was smashed into the cliff so hard that the whole earth shook. Whoa! Bondewald smashed the entire 100-meter-high cliff into pieces. The entire small cliff is centered on Bondewald and splits in all directions. The small cliff was decomposed into large pieces of boulder rock by this powerful impact, which peeled off from the air and fell to the ground. In addition, a large amount of gravel and dust was produced, and all fell out of control. Boom, boom, boom. One after another giant rocks weighing thousands of tons smashed at the foot of the cliff. The whole island continued to vibrate continuously, and the whole land was filled with dust. For a time, the disintegrating cliff rubble submerged Bondewald. Cough cough. Captain Walder. Gyram, who was closest to Guangyu Longcheng and Vista, saw that Bondewald was crushed under the gravel, and immediately exclaimed, broke away from the battle with the members of the 5th Division, and went straight to the cliff. The Rubik's Cube is messed up. Gyram rushed to the pile of rubble, put his hand on the mountain of rocks, and gave a loud shout. I saw those. On the gravel rocks, there were straight lines that were perpendicular to each other, forming a rectangular pattern. Then along the rectangular line, they were cut into blocks of the same size, and they floated out of the air one by one, revealing Bondewald, who was pressed on the ground. Captain Walder, are you all right? Gyram asked nervously. Stinky boy, there are 2 brushes. Bondewald ignored Gyram, put his hands on the ground and stood up again, brushing off the dust from his body, and said with a gloomy look. If you only have this ability, then I'm so disappointed. Phew. Bondewald exerted force on his feet, raised a piece of dust, left an afterimage on the spot, and teleported away to Dragon City. So fast. Longcheng's pupils shrank, and Bondewald, who has the ability of Momo's fruit, can increase his speed by dozens or even hundreds of times, which is the highest speed he has ever seen. Second only to Admiral Kizaru. Although Longcheng he moved faster, but before Longcheng reacted to move, Bondewald was already in front of him. This kind of movement speed is difficult to detect with the naked eye alone, and the only thing that can be used is the domineering arrogance. But in the past few days, due to the frequent continuous use of the absolute domain of ignorance and color, Longcheng has been mentally fatigued. Absolute realm. Open. Longcheng's face was condensed. No matter what, he insisted on mental fatigue and headache, and directly turned on the arrogance of seeing and hearing. Instant, an invisible and colorless perception range centered on the Dragon City itself, spreading out in a circle around 20 kilometers away. Radius of 20 kilometers, every grass, tree, insect and stone are all under the control of Longcheng. Come on. Longcheng's eyes narrowed slightly, His right fist was covered with a domineering look of armament. He turned his body slightly to the left, and punched the front left. It was only then that Longcheng was shocked, and he missed with one punch. According to his domineering prediction, Bondewald should appear here in the next moment. Not good. Longcheng was shocked, and the figure of Bondewald appeared behind Bista, screaming. "Young man, don't be distracted. Turn around." Bondewald's black and domineering iron fist smashed towards Bista's waist. "Bista, dangerous!" Longcheng exclaimed. Bondewald's punch, Bista's spine would be broken. In desperation, Longcheng was ready to use shaving to block Bista's back again. "Don't stop, Captain Bundy." Gairam clearly saw the movements of Longcheng, and saw that the land at the foot of Longcheng suddenly appeared one after another in disorderly position, forming a big pit. Phailu reminds you, 3 things to read. 280. At the foot is a giant warship. Hey, your opponent is here. Seeing that Gairam suddenly left the battlefield and intervened in the battle of Longcheng and others on the other side, Duke Nuarashi was furious, drew his sword and charged at Gairam, holding Gairam back. A big pit suddenly appeared at the foot of Longcheng, and the lack of focus made Longcheng unable to shave, and there was a burst of anger in his heart. Moonstep. Performing the moonstep, although it can't have the speed of traversing 10,000 meters in an instant like Xiao, it also makes Longcheng rush behind Bista. Before Bista could turn his head, he felt that there was someone behind him. It's just that after such a short period of time, Longcheng has fallen into a passive state, and there is no extra time to take countermeasures. Longcheng could only cover his entire body with a super hard-armed arrogance, colliding with the backs of the two of Bista, and abruptly received a punch from Bondewald. Responsive very fast. Who suddenly appeared between him and Bista, and snorted coldly. Bang! Bondewald's fist was supposed to hit Bista's lumbar spine, but now Longcheng blocked Bista's back, and the punch slammed into Longcheng's abdomen. PFF'd. A sound of breaking through the air sounded, and Longcheng and Bista pressed against each other back to back, and were smashed into the distance together. The two fell to the ground, and for a while, the air was filled with dust. Cough cough. Thank you. Bistadi was very surprised by Longcheng's speed and said in pain. Although Bista was equally uncomfortable, it was much better than having his lumbar vertebrae broken. And Bista got up together, looking a little embarrassed. This Bondewald is stronger than expected. Longcheng looked solemn and said in a cold tone. Even if he protected himself with the system-enhanced armament and resisted most of the shocks, Longcheng was hit by Bondewald's fist twice, and he still felt quite hungry. Once smashed in the face, driving the body to fly, Longcheng is now sprained at the neck. Ah, yes, this guy has already played against us a few times when I first got on Dad's boat 30 years ago. Even as at the time did not defeat the pirates. I didn't expect that 30 years later, Bondewald is still so strong. Bista took up his double swords again, looked at Longcheng, nodded and rushed out together. Bondewald's speed and strength are amazing, but it doesn't mean that he is invulnerable. Dragon City's strongest million-tile Zhengchen and Black Dragon are only on par with Bondewald, but his feet are not yet use it. They want to beat Bondewald. The key is speed. It is best to deal enough damage before Bondewald reacts and protects himself with armament. Oh, you two are really fighting. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Quote. When Bondewald saw the Dragon City and the two rushing out of the jungle, he laughed loudly and unscrupulously, with hatred and shadows in his eyes. Cough, cough. Wald, why don't we just stop fighting? Bingjak coughed weakly, watching Walder's crazy appearance and the surrounding melee, with worry in his eyes. No, I'm going to beat them all down. Anyone who stops me from grabbing the shock fruit will die. But, why did we take the Junjun fruit? The former us, cough cough, isn't going to sea together for freedom, to travel around the world. Bingjak looked at Wald, who had been a little strange since he was released from prison, and said. Yes, what I want is freedom. The world government and the navy are enemies who block my freedom. That's why I have to destroy them and get the fruit of shock, and I can't let this fruit fall into the hands of the world government. Bundywald looked at Bing Jack, his face gloomy, and cried almost growling. Longcheng and Beasta rushed out of the jungle, and watched Bing Jack and Bundywald quarrel quietly. No, it's not like this. Ahem. You said before that the battleship in your dreams should have a giant cannon. You said, this cannon is not for attacking others, but for others to see. Novel virtue has the ability to multiply fruit, and does not dare to offend us. Bing Jack's eyes were full of sadness and a hint of nostalgia. But now that you're out of prison, for the past 30 years, Sebastian and I have collected materials for building ships. Ahem. The pirate ship under our feet has been built, but you have to use this cannon to destroy the world. Bing Jack said, coughing uncontrollably. What? Beasta looked shocked. The island at their feet turned out to be the warship of the Ward pirates. Longcheng looked at the other side of the cliff, and he knew it. The island. It's not a real island, but in the original book, the Ward pirates secretly built a huge island ship during the 30 years when Captain Ward was imprisoned in the Push City.